Good morning, church family. As I look out at how many people are here, I was seriously wondering if I was going to be speaking to just maybe a few between the rain and football. There's a lot of competition for Sunday mornings this month, but there's just enough here this morning to make me nervous, but I'm going to do my best. I have a little more time to work with today than I normally do, so I'm going to get to share a few things with you. I'm Janelle. I do work for CAPS Pregnancy Clinics. I have for the last 14 years. And today actually is Sanctity of Life Sunday. It's typically the third Sunday of January, where President Reagan actually set this day aside to honor, celebrate, and think about the lives of unborn children in our country and throughout the world. CAPS has been around for going on 23 years, and we provide a lot of neat things for women and couples in our community who are experiencing usually an unplanned pregnancy, and they're not really sure what they're going to do about that. We're a safe place and a great place to start the journey and learn things. A lot of you have been supporting CAPS for many years, but really probably have never been inside the clinic. We do offer tours, and you can call me anytime and we can set that up. But I wanted to start off with a tour of our clinics for you to see, since many of you have never seen that part of it. So you can go ahead and show the CAPS tour video. Have you ever visited a CAPS clinic? Let's take a quick tour and experience what happens on the inside. Our College Area Clinic was the first to open 20 years ago and is the central business hub as well as the largest and busiest of the 3 clinics. CAPS has provided pregnancy services to over 9,700 women in the past 20 years, all free of charge. Women and couples are offered a listening ear, hope, and life-affirming education as they make decisions about the future of the unborn life they are weighing in the balance. In our culture today, the messaging all around us is that abortion is just another choice or the way out of a difficult situation. At CAPS, trained volunteers and staff work with each patient and their unique situation to bring both empathy and truth into the interactions. Women feel educated, encouraged, and empowered as a result. A transformational experience begins as our patients watch their babies on the screen, and it continues as they take the printed images home with them. The baby's heart can be seen beating at just 6 weeks, which is often when a woman is first recognizing she may be pregnant. Wonderful things happen in the ultrasound room as God's creation is on full display. The ultrasound is the moment where developmental fact and the spark of divinely placed excitement intersect in the heart of a woman as her baby comes into view. "That's my baby" is often spoken aloud by both women and men during an ultrasound. At CAPS, over 94% of women and couples choose life, particularly after receiving ultrasound. 20 years of CAPS children are now growing up in San Diego. Our continual prayer is that women and couples who are considering abortion will find CAPS first as they search for pregnancy-related services close by. This is why we feel it is so important to have multiple locations across San Diego. It creates a strong presence both in the community and on the internet, and also allows CAPS to be accessible to women and couples across our large city. In January of 2021, our 4th clinic opened in the Kearny Mesa area of San Diego. As expected, the clinic is very busy because of its central location. You can be a part of this amazing ministry, providing ultrasound and life-affirming counsel to help make a choice for life possible. Help us grow our legacy of saving lives and families in San Diego by getting involved with CAPS Pregnancy Clinics. So that was a brief tour of all 4 of our clinics. So we've come a long way, and now we actually need to update this video because we are entering into our 23rd year of being in San Diego. And our third clinic, our downtown clinic that had opened, the building was actually sold. And so we're literally moving a half a block up the street to a new building, and we're going to be open there in mid-February. Most of the people in this video that you saw are actual patients who agreed to be part of that and to help us celebrate their choice for life. In 2022, CAPS served, because of our 4 clinics, served over 1,350 women and couples. I want to say couples because sometimes the men come with the women, father the baby, and received ultrasound, pregnancy testing, material aid, referrals to OBGYNs, if they need Medi-Cal, WIC, any service that they need, if they need to be set up in a church home, we can help them with that. So it's pretty incredible. I want to show you one more video. She was highlighted just briefly in there, but I'd like you to hear her story, and her name is Pia. Go ahead and show that one.
My father was really abusive growing up. My mom tried to leave him several times, but he always ended up tracking us down, and we were taken to a battered women's shelter when I was 6. I came to this area to live on my grandmother's property, and she lives in the San Diego area. I had a feeling that I was pregnant. I took a pregnancy test, and it was negative. A few weeks had gone by, and things still weren't right, and so I was at work and actually took a pregnancy test on my lunch break, and it was positive. And so I called, my boyfriend at the time and told him, hey, guess what, ready or not. I definitely felt really alone. I did not know where to turn to. I just, I knew Planned Parenthood. I called Planned Parenthood and asked them for help. And my main thing was I wanted an ultrasound. I wanted to just get some information, like how far along am I? Like, what do I do? Can I talk to anyone? And they could offer me no help. They just said, we could schedule an abortion and that's it. I called doctors and they couldn't get me in for weeks. And with an abortion, if I were to go that route, I know there's that cutoff line of 8 weeks. And I was scared. I didn't know what I was going to do. I wasn't sure what to do. And so the lady on the phone said, well, let me give you this number. And she gave me the number to CAPS. They got me in right away, and they didn't put any pressure on me. They're like, we're not going to pressure you, to have the baby to keep it, but we just want you to know you have options. But just, being able to see the ultrasound was really amazing. It was like, wow, there's a little life inside of me, I just kind of poured my heart out because I was in such an emotional place, and I was like, I'm so scared to have this baby. They gave me something to look forward to. They were very positive. They were the first people I told with expecting judgment and criticism when I was greeted with absolute, love and kindness and understanding. They have been extremely supportive, reaching out to me. They've given me free diapers, free wipes, which is so helpful. They're so nice, and they're like, come on in, and they offer parenting classes, and so they're still helping me right now. I'm still going to school. I've been working towards my degree, chipping away at it, just a class here, a class there. I have one more class before I can get my associates, and then it'll be associate's degree for transfer. And I want her to grow up, being able to try different things out so she can find what she wants to do in life early. I want her to be happy no matter what she does. I want her to be a humble person and successful and do what she wants to do to be happy. It's amazing that I've only known her for a few months, technically, but I couldn't imagine my life without her. Now that she's here, it's the best choice I've ever made.
Now, that was a great ending to that particular patient and also for us. But unfortunately, there are people who don't choose the way she did. But I'm here to tell you that we love them too. One of the things that she said in the video, and sometimes it's hard to swallow when you're listening to this, but we don't manipulate women. We don't twist their arm. We don't put them down in a chair and say, if you do this, this is going to happen. It wasn't Jesus' way, and it's not our way. Jesus reached out to people around him, and he loved them first, and he usually offered them something tangible that they needed in order for them to quiet their minds, open their hearts, and be able to listen to his words, his life-giving words. And that's the model that CAPS has. There are women who do move through an abortion, and we actually invite them to come back for healing. We hope that we can still minister to them. We hope that we can still reach them. We want them to know that there is forgiveness for that. And with that, I'm privileged to have Lori Wright come up, who is one of our amazing patient care specialist volunteers. She's going to give you a little bit of her testimony, and then I'll close us.
Thank you, Janelle. Good morning. I have to have notes. The older I get, the more notes I carry around with me. So I want to tell you a redemption story about the grace and mercy of Jesus Christ. And it's actually my redemption story. And I'm going to start by telling you a couple of verses that I love. I love the book of Romans, and particularly chapter 8. And two verses that have always comforted me, and I was thinking about when the worship leader was talking about standing on the promises. These are two promises that are great. Verse 1 says, "Therefore there is now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus." And the phrase that Paul uses here is much stronger than simply saying we're not condemned. It means that there is no condemnation at all. No possibility of it. Not only are we not condemned, we cannot and never will be condemned if we're in Jesus Christ. Verse 2 says, "And we know that in all things God works together for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purpose." And I would say that's some pretty good news. Yeah. So we've all made some mistakes in our lives, and some of those mistakes have lifelong consequences. And when we keep these mistakes hidden and secret, kind of like skeletons in our closet, they become fodder for the enemy to create havoc in our lives. But when we expose them to the light of Jesus, he can use these same mistakes not only for our good, but for the good of others as well. And so now to apply all this good news, I want to tell you about a huge mistake that I made. In 1978, at the age of 18, and in my freshman year at college, I became pregnant. And I chose to have an abortion. You don't have to know my life story to know that the decision I made stemmed from a lot of brokenness, but it was still an action that I took, that I chose to take, even as a Christian. And it was really part of my journey of healing to be able to take responsibility for that. It was easy to blame whatever was going on in my life, but the truth is, that was my choice. So when I asked Jesus to forgive me, he forgave me, and he took away the stain of that sin forever. However, there have been some very difficult lifelong consequences that would take many years to heal. And one of those consequences was I was never able to bear children, and that was a huge disappointment to me. And another was the bondage of shame and guilt I carried that led to long-term anxiety and depression. But Jesus didn't leave me there. He allowed darkness to bring me to a point where he could use it to redeem what had been lost. And along the way, he brought my husband, Danny, into my life, and he was like a healing balm. He is one of the kindest, most caring, and generous men I have ever known, and he walked through some very dark years with me, and my consequences had a huge impact on his life as well. And during that time, Jesus also brought a wounded little girl into our lives when she was just 3 years old. And she lived with us for a little while, and then she went to live with her dad, but she remained in our lives forever after that. So when she was getting ready to start high school, I tried to speak into her life all I could. And I asked her if she would be willing to join me for a purity weekend. And she agreed, not realizing that it would involve me explaining the facts of life to her. And it was pretty hilarious. I had a kit that I had ordered online from Family Life Today, Dennis Rainey, and it was really corny. I mean, it was pretty funny. Had a lot of object lessons, where you use like a balloon to tell a story about. But anyway, we had a lot of fun doing it, and there was a lot of humor. But most of all, it showed her how important she was to me and how special, and that would be an integral part of our relationship down the road. So in the meantime, as I was in bondage to the secret shame and guilt of the abortion, even though I was a Christian and I knew the grace and mercy of Jesus, I was still suffering with anxiety and depression. So in 2003, I was attending a women's Bible study at my church, and the topic was when godly people do ungodly things. And in that small group, when we had little breakout groups, I confessed my secret. And one of the women shared with me later that she too had an abortion experience in her past, and she told me about how she had found healing through a ministry retreat that she had participated in. And so I signed up for one. And I began the process, and I say process because it was just the beginning, of receiving healing and restoration from a despair that had consumed me for 25 years. I've also remained close friends with that woman and the other women in that group now for 20 years. Now, as Jesus would have it, I was working for Dr. Mark Nicochea, who many of you know, in his dental office. And one of our patients just happened to be Janelle Marino. One day, Janelle and I were talking, and she was telling me about her job at CAPS. And so I shared my story about the healing I had received, and she suggested that I might consider becoming a volunteer at CAPS. And that was 10 years ago. And I've been volunteering at CAPS ever since. It just became a huge passion in my life, and I love the ministry. I love everything that they offer and being able to be a part of it. So after volunteering at CAPS for about 6 months and being face-to-face with the reminders of my past, hearing the women's stories, I began feeling some of the old shame and guilt resurface. And so one Sunday at church, there was a beautiful young woman named Stephanie Noriega, and she got up and talked about a Bible study that she was going to be leading to walk women through the healing of abortion. So I took a break from CAPS and participated in a 10-week study called Forgiven and Set Free. And we actually led it at my house. During the study, I received a permanent healing from the bondage to this part of my past. Thank you. And it was because of the mercy and grace of Jesus Christ. And I would have never in a million years thought I would stand up and talk about my abortion experience. But now it doesn't, it seriously, it brings me joy because it helps others. So back at CAPS, I began using my abortion and healing experience to walk alongside women who were struggling with a crisis pregnancy, some of which had abortions in their past as well. So I could share firsthand my own experience to the lie that abortion is an easy way out of your crisis. And I could share my own experience that, nobody can question what your experience is. And many times it made an impact on their decision to choose life. Just being able to hear something that the pregnancy centers like Planned Parenthood don't tell you. These are the consequences that could happen. And no matter what you may hear in the media, abortion always damages not only the child whose life has been taken, but also the woman who's left to deal with the aftermath. And it doesn't happen right away, always. My downward spiral didn't fully accelerate until I was married and discovered I couldn't have children. And that's when it really started affecting me the most. So over the course of the next few years, my passion for helping women who were suffering as I had led to God opening a door for me to actively participate in 3 important ministries. I'm going to have to take a sip of water because my mouth is getting really dry. Okay. So blessed to participate in 3 important ministries. So at CAPS, I'm blessed to be able to facilitate their PACE program, which is post-abortion care and education. I meet with the women one-on-one, and I'm able to help them process some of the stages of grief, and also feed them into a Bible study if they're willing, which is another ministry. And it's called From Grief to Gladness. And it was born out of that first Forgiven and Set Free Bible study that Stephanie led. That same Bible study is now held twice a year, and one of them is beginning at the end of this month, and along with an annual retreat held in April at Pine Valley Conference Center. And both of those have been huge. Hundreds of women have come through the Bible studies and the retreats, and so much healing has taken place. The last ministry that God gave me the privilege of being a part of involves that little girl that I told you about. 5 years ago, that little girl, then 21 years old, called me from college in a panic because she had just found out that she was pregnant and didn't know what to do. She knew I volunteered at CAPS, and she trusted me because of the relationship we had established earlier. And God's hand was all over that because I didn't realize at the time what that was about. She said her family told her before she went off to school that if she got pregnant while she was away, she would not be welcome to come home. I encouraged her to talk to them as many times there's a change of heart in a situation like that. So she called and told them, and they did not have a change of heart. In fact, they told her that if she didn't have an abortion, they would cut her off financially, as well as not being able to come home. She was devastated, and she didn't have anywhere to go. So she came to live with Danny and I. And it turned out to be one of the biggest blessings in our lives. I got to walk alongside her and experience the pregnancy with her that I'd never had an opportunity to do. I just didn't have to feel any of the pain part. And I even got to walk alongside her during the birth process. It was just the father of the baby and me in the birthing room. So the first thing she did after coming to live with us, this was before she gave birth, was to go to CAPS. and she allowed them to assist her throughout her entire pregnancy. And it was a great opportunity for me to actually experience some of the resources that we give out, because she tried every single thing we had. And it was really a joy to watch. It included referrals to places like, I don't know if you've heard of Embrace Grace, but it's a ministry, it's a national ministry, but it's operated through the local church. And what they do is they come alongside of women and they have mentorship, Bible study, and friendship with other young women that are in the same situation they are. And it gave her such additional support at that time, and she really needed it. They even gave her a baby shower and a ton of things that she needed. And through CAPS, she received a free car seat, crib, maternity photos, parenting classes, and just before giving birth to a precious baby girl on October 4th of 2018, she was given a wonderful gift basket and equipped her with some of the basics to help her to become a great mom. And it was a really great gift basket because I put it together. So even during that time, she was even able to finish her degree online. And she was able to reconcile with her family. They did finally come around, and now, I mean, they're... Yeah, it's hard for me to believe it's the same people. But best of all, she accepted Jesus Christ as her Savior. And it was her Uncle Danny that led her to the Lord. And I would say that's a pretty powerful redemption story. Only one that God pulled off. So in a congregation this size, statistics show that 24% of the women sitting in the church right now have experienced at least one abortion in their life. And I know that sounds crazy, but it's the same percentage in the church as it is in the world. And they're probably experiencing some of the same things that I went through, if they haven't received healing. And if you or someone that you love have had an abortion experience, please don't wait any longer to receive healing, because Jesus wants to redeem that loss. He wants to set you free. Forgiveness is available, and you don't have to be held in bondage anymore. And as I indicated earlier, the Bible study and the retreat, our Bible study is starting the 30th of January, and it runs through April 3rd. It's in La Mesa at a private home. And then our next retreat is held April 21st to the 23rd in Pine Valley. These events are always confidential. Everyone participating, including the leadership, have all had at least one abortion. So this is a very safe place. I gave Janelle some flyers, and she was going to post some. I don't know where they ended up being put, but I know it's a difficult thing to come up and talk to somebody afterwards, because you think, well, she must have had an abortion if she's going up to talk to the person. So I'm not offended at all. But the flyers hopefully would be in a place where you could just take a picture and get the phone number or whatever. And then if that's not comfortable, you can, if you want to talk to me directly, you can get my number from Janelle. She has all that information, and I would really be happy to talk to you about any part of that. Thank you so much for listening. I appreciate that.